India's post-independence generation, this voice evokes the joy of Hindi film music with the habit of radio. In that socialist era, Ameen Sayani's programs and commercials were about a little bit of choice.
Ameen Sayani, you're going to preempt everything I do, isn't it? Because you have made a legendary career out of being on this side of the camera.
I must tell you a little secret success, very briefly, and that is I am a commercial broadcaster who gives people headaches with my programs and then sells them analgesics to get rid of those headaches, and if that doesn't work, then I sell them toothpastes in order that they learn how to grin and bear it. But as far as my broadcasting career goes, the one thing, the basis, the most important thing in my career is the fact that I was always the wrong man at the right place, kicked around towards various goalposts, and somehow it clicked. For instance, I was born in a Kutchi family which had never been to Kutch and didn't speak Kutchi.
Bombay, born and brought
Absolutely,
up.
Absolutely, Bombay, born and brought up, Mumbai, as they say. And there were a number of languages all sort of clashing with each other in my family. It was mainly Gujarati and a lot of English, because my mother had gone, had a governess at home and had learnt in English. So I went to a Gujarati school to begin with, and I used to, for 7 years I learned Gujarati, and I could read, write, speak and think in Gujarati. I even counted in Gujarati. I still count in Gujarati, and it's quite quick to do so. Now my brother Hamid became an exceptional English broadcaster, and when I was about 7, he started taking me to All India Radio and started introducing me to English broadcasting. So from the age of 7 till almost till the age of 16, I was an English broadcaster. I had not studied Hindi too much or Urdu too much. But what happened was that around 1950, Radio Ceylon opened an agency in India, and they had a section which was a program production section, and my brother Hamid became the program director. So I went to him and said, "For God's sake, you my guru, Hamid bhai, give me some work in commercial broadcasting." He said, "Look, I am doing the 1 or 2 English programs only that are there, so you won't get a chance there. You can assist me if you wish. But in the Hindi section, we have lots of excellent Hindi broadcasters. And you have been a Gujarati student and English broadcaster. You haven't studied Hindi and Urdu. So you better go and study it first, and then you'll be allowed to do some."
Growing up in a family that spoke Gujarati and English meant that his attempts at getting started in Hindi broadcasting were rejected. It was by fluke that one day, hanging around the Radio Ceylon Bombay studio, that was at St. Xavier's College, that he was asked to read a commercial, and the rest, as they say, is history.
He called me, "I mean, idhar aao. Tumko main dekhta hu, bahut dinon se tum baithe ho. All you do is you sit on the back bench and ogle at all the girls. You don't do any work here. I know that you are an English broadcaster and a Gujarati student, but here is a Hindi script. My commercial broadcaster has not come today, and he is giving me a tremendous amount of problems. Will you just tell somebody to dictate it to you into Roman and read it out?" I said, "Srivastava ji, I may not be speaking very good Hindi and Urdu, but I know the Urdu script, I know the Hindi script, and I know the Gujarati script, all 3 fluently." He said, "How did that happen?" I said, "My mother was Shishya of Gandhiji, and for almost 20 years, at that time it was almost 12 years, my mother had been editing and publishing from my house magazine in 3 scripts, Urdu, Hindi and Gujarati, but in the same language, simple Hindustani, which Gandhiji wanted to make the national language. So I said, "I know the script," and I read out the commercial for him. Now I was a Naye Bharat ka Naya Naujawan, and the script was about health-giving drink. So I read it out with great gusto, and waving my arms and yelling and shouting. And he just blocked his ears and said, hold it, hold it, hold it. What do you think you're doing? You're quarreling with somebody. We don't want any pahlwans here. Please read like a normal human being. So I was taken aback. I said, yes sir, I'll do that. And I read a little normally. He said, "Theek hai, you still have a lot of Gujarati and English in your accent, but you're okay. You know the script well. Read it today in the recording, let's see." Recording went off first class, first take, okay. And then he said, "Acha, now you come every week and be my Hindi announcer." Now that was my first job in Hindi broadcasting. Just reading that little commercial of Ovaltine. And so I was overjoyed, and I said, "But Srivastava, this is a commercial radio, so I'm sure you're going to pay me." So I said, who's going to pay you? Don't be silly. All you're going to get is one tin of Ovaltine every week. And to that, I think I owe my good health in broadcasting, 57 years.
I just want to go back a little bit. You did not consider anything else ever?
I did actually. I had lots of ambitions. I wanted to become a lawyer. I wanted to become a politician and end up as the Prime Minister of India. Having grown up in a very nationalistic thing, I always had great ideas of what I would be when I grew up. But then all I became was a poor commentator.
It's this sponsored program, Geetmala, that started on Radio Ceylon in 1952 that made Ameen Sayani legendary. A jackpot competition that turned into a countdown show went on to run for 47 years, and it made his breezy, chatty style iconic.
If I'm going to be handling such a big program, I'd better start brushing up on my Hindi and Urdu. So I started listening to a lot of songs which I was doing for Geetmala in any case, and I started reading poetry. And in my mother's journal, which is called Rahbar, which means the guide, Path Nirdeshak, I came across a beautiful couplet by Kabir, which said, "Pothi padi padi jag mo, pandit bhayo na koi, dhai aakhar," that is dhai akshar, "dhai aakhar prem ka, padhe so pandit hoy." So I said, I have not read any pothis or big tomes or books and whatnot, but I have a lot of love in my heart. So I can jump into this field and make it. So along with my listeners, who were all trying to learn Hindi at that particular time, because India had just become independent, I also learnt my Hindi and Urdu, polished my accent. It took me about 7 years to get my 7 years of Gujarati off my tongue. And slowly I started, becoming a normal human being. Because
you're being very modest, because you know, everybody really admires the way you use the language and you know, speak it. So
it was interesting, because you know, so many things that I read or came across helped me. For instance, my prayer in broadcasting was a couplet by Ghalib, which says, "Ya Rab, na wo samjhe hain, na samjhenge meri baat, de aur dil unko, jo na de mujhko zaban aur." These people are not going to understand me. Please either give them better understanding or give me better communication. All India Radio also, apart from losing out on Indian film music, had become a slightly boring kind of a station, organization, where people never used to smile when they talked. They were very serious. Even if they were announcing a romantic song, they would say, "Ye Akashwani ka पंचरंगी प्रोग्राम है or whatever, अब आप सुनेंगे मोहम्मद रफ़ी और लता मंगेशकर से एक युगल गान." When listening to it, it felt as if a great national leader had popped off. I never had a good voice. It was what I did have is clarity. I had a nice collation between my thought and my speech, I had a lot of ambition. I went all out to see that nobody got bored. I did a lot of dhum dhalaka.
You owed your listener. You ensured that your listener got value for the time they were spending with you.
Absolutely. I mean, they were giving their time.
Yeah.
It was my job to give them entertainment. And so this was the first countdown show. And even I didn't know what exactly the countdown format was. But when I started doing it, then week by week by week, I think within about 5 weeks at the most, the whole of India and me, we were all hooked on that format. And it became a kind of a gamble, it became a kind of a race. And I also had created a kind of a ladder, a music ladder, Sangeet Siri, with rungs, paidane. And I used to say, well, now the song is climbing from number 16 and it's going up, 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 and it reaches the top and there'd be a bugle, dun, ta-da, and all that. So there was fun, there was excitement, everything that was missing in so many other stations. So we managed to get that kind of feel, that kind of excitement.
Any out of 42 years,
45 years.
45 years, songs that you remember?
Oh, no, don't ask me that. There were so many.
Yeah, I know.
But if you ask me which was the most popular film as far as songs is concerned, most favorite of mine, I would say I'd name 2 films. One would be Chitralekha, that is Roshan's Chitralekha, and the other would be Dada Barwan's Guide. I was very fond of these 2 tremendously.
At that point was the golden period of Hindi film music, and you could have actually said that, okay, I've got some great music to play in Geetmala, and it could have been pretty straightforward. You didn't let it be that way. Why is that?
I couldn't do that because I wouldn't be honest to my profession, honest to my life. I could sacrifice my sleep, I could sacrifice my family, and they did suffer quite a bit, but fortunately my wife I met when she came to work in my office. So we got married and we kept working together. The only thing that happened with my wife was that because we were working together, we hardly conversed with each other. So my advice is never marry a girl who is working with you in that profession.
Ameen Sayani has worked as an independent producer since the mid-80s and has actively furthered the cause of his industry. His collection of interviews is an invaluable archive that still has many takers. Though he did appear in a few films as himself and was a popular host for stage events, his TV appearances were fleeting.
You've had this prolific career as a radio broadcaster. Why did you not make the transition to a full-time television broadcast career?
I was not very comfortable with it. My whole life has been, from the age of 7, I've been romancing with radio, and being a slightly faithful person, shall I say, I didn't want to shift anywhere else, and it was a pain in the neck anyway, because every time I'd sit there to compare program, the light man would say, "Nahi, wo light marta hai aapka chashma," or something or the other would go wrong. And then I had to, for presentation, now here I am just speaking off the cuff, but there was a script which I would memorize and try and present as I was presenting in radio. So it was a real pain in the neck. And in radio I could handle about 7 to 10 programs a day. There it was about at the most 1 or 2 programs in the day that I could finish. And I had to go to the studio far away, waste a lot of time. So I finally said, look, I'm happy where I am, so let's not go into it.
I want to know about this transition from being the person who is chronicling the work and lives of all these greats in the world of music to becoming a legend yourself. When and how did this happen, and how did you ensure that you managed to remain true to the public over the friends you created in the industry?
What you said is the basis of a good broadcaster. A good broadcaster, especially presenter or a compere, must not overshadow the person he is interviewing. He has to lift that person up, get out from that person his best, tease him, nettle him a little if possible, pull his leg a little bit if possible, praise him, go deep into his emotional psyche, but never superimpose or overimpose yourself on that person. And I think that is what my audience appreciated most, that here was a person who was helping them to go into the world of music and to the films. I have done a lot of film stars too, and not interfere with what is being said by those people. You must have heard many compares on television, on radio, who don't let that person speak. I mean, as soon as he starts saying something interesting, you cut and say, oh, Nani, now answer this question. That should never be done. So, by doing that, I became a representative not of the world of films or the world of radio. I became a representative of the listener. I was a member of the listener's family.
We know you and refer to you as a radio broadcaster, but at heart, what you are and what you do is about communication. What do you make of the state of communication today?
I think, unfortunately, that the entire Indian communications is crumbling. I feel that there should be a national movement on the part of the government and the people, where in every phase of life and work, let us take the rules, the regulations, the framework, let us simplify it. Sanchar, which is communication, उसके लिए 5 स ज़रूरी हैं. One is that the sanchar should be sahi, should be correct. There should be no mistakes in it. Secondly, it should be satya, it should be truthful. Thirdly, it should be spasht, absolutely clear, unambiguous. Fourthly, it should be saral, which is simple. And lastly, the last sa is sundar. It must be appealing, it must be attractive. Now, unfortunately, all our communication is losing out on all these 5 points because people don't understand what is happening.
Ameen Sayani, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the very, very best, and we hope that you will be proud of the communication that you're seeing around you.
I hope so. I wish and pray that that happens. God bless you.
Thank you.